Square Root Farmers Take 1. Did you already start?
Are you ready? Yeah.
Alright guys, why don't you just start by introducing yourself. Look into the camera very seriously.
Over here.
Welcome to the 12 Steps to Become an Urban or Vertical Farmer. This series brings you the structured stories of many different urban and vertical farmers from around the world and the 12 steps they had to take to become successful. This awesome episode features Electra Jarvis and Jonathan Bernard, two entrepreneurs from the amazing Square Roots program in Brooklyn. Both Electra and Jonathan started with the same container and the same location, yet they grew two different companies during their time at the Square Roots program. In this episode, they explain why and how. Enjoy and learn from the best.
My name is Electra Jarvis, and I'm currently running a business called Green Food Solutions, and I am a Square Roots entrepreneur.
My name is Jonathan Bernard, and I am currently running a business called Street Leafs, and I'm also a Square Roots entrepreneur.
And why do you guys urban and vertical farm? Why do you do it? Why are you here? Why do you have your container?
For me, this experience is pretty crazy. We have 10 containers in the middle of Brooklyn, so we're able to essentially grow food all year round. So for me, it's about creating this experience that has never been done before and pushing the boundaries on what we can grow in a container and then what you can do to feed a city.
For me, I guess where this started for me is really realizing the impact that animal agriculture has on the planet, and then trying to figure out how to make vegetables and leafy greens and food, fruits and vegetables more attractive to people, so that we can curb our meat intake, and that you have something that's local, that's really good for you and fresh. And so I got into it because of the environmental impact of the industrial food system, as well as all of the health impacts that the food system has also had on a majority of Americans, if not now, like the growing world population.
Talk about your background to each other. You guys know each other, right?
Do we know each other?
Yeah. Wait, I heard you're an accountant or something.
I was an accountant.
Yep.
Formerly an accountant, and I would always be cooking and growing food in my spare time.
Yep.
Literally looking out the window, waiting to be done with work, to work a garden, even in the winter. So basically, I decided I could make the same amount of money actually following my passion.
Yeah.
So I went into farming.
Yeah. Cool.
What about you?
Background, I have like a pretty academic background, but while I was getting my master's in sustainable environmental systems from Pratt Institute, I was tinkering with a bunch of hydroponic systems through different farms like Boswick Farms and Farm One, and then I interned with Blue Planet Consulting, and and then it kind of just, my fate was set. Yeah. But I mean, my background is just like more in environmental psychology and trying to figure out how to get people to behave more environmentally friendly, as well as how can the built environment influence people in a way that is productive and positive. And I think creating green space is one of those ways. Actually, I think it is the way. And if that green space can also be productive, then yeah.
All right. What was the most important thing you guys had to learn before making this farm work?
Scheduling. Scheduling was probably the biggest breakthrough I've had by being a farmer. So you have hundreds of little plants that depend on you, and if you don't show up and take care of them and make sure that the farm is actually running correctly, you're not spilling nutrients or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that was probably my biggest breakthrough.
Probably for me, just patience. Just farming, like, I guess you know it when you grow things in your backyard, but when your business depends on something taking 8 weeks to grow and you have to plan, you have to know what's going to be in a specific area in like 3 months ahead of time. Probably patience and planning, but yeah, it's really hard. I mean, farming takes a lot of behind the scenes work that the customer, I guess, never really sees. They just pick up the item, but they don't really see what goes into it.
Not turning the water off for the whole weekend.
Not turning the water?
The water off for the whole weekend.
You did that?
I'm just saying I learned that.
So, how did you guys choose the crops you're growing right now? Maybe start with the crops you're actually growing. You're not growing the same crops, are you?
No.
No.
Okay, good.
Similar.
Well,
Similar,
no.
but different stages of life.
Yeah. So I grow lettuce, and I chose lettuce based on, I wanted people to taste something, to really taste the difference between what they're used to. So consumers know like romaine or iceberg, but they don't know that there's like 30 different varieties of lettuce, and they're never going to see that in the store. So for me, it was all about taste and quality, and bringing something that they would find really worth the money. Like just when they buy something, they take it home and then they keep coming back. They're like, this thing is totally different than any other farm in the area or any other product on the shelf. So.
What was the question again?
What crops you grow and how you chose them?
So
Ew.
I grow salad mixes and I grow kale, and then I've experimented with cilantro and catnip. And I think in the beginning I was looking for something that was attractive and something that was also going to have a high turnover rate so that I could produce enough to support myself financially. And salad mixes, the reason I grow salad mixes is because I want to serve directly to consumers, so I want some sort of specialized product that they may not be able to find in the store, and something that says, you know, this was grown with love by myself, or, you know, I get a lot of volunteer work and I sometimes put my interns' names or volunteers on the bag to say, you know, this was grown with love by these folks. And yeah, I picked it for something that was different and had texture and was sexy, you know.
And how do you define sexy with lettuce?
Lettuce is sexy when it's when it's crispy, when it's cool, when it's mild. Those are the sexy characteristics of it. But it's also about the visual, like kind of having a product that is really, really bursting with color and flavor. So one thing that I love to grow actually is arugula, because something about these farms allows us to grow arugula to this really peppery, you know, taste threshold, and I've like never tasted it anywhere else, and a lot of people tell me the same thing.
What do you think about each other's crops?
They swap all the time.
Yeah. They all taste good.
Yeah.
Like all the crops grown in these systems are really tasty. They look nice. I mean, they last for like 2-3 weeks depending on the crop. And herbs, I'm sure, last longer. So it's pretty crazy.
I was just gonna say my customers love John's lettuce. So that's what I think about John's lettuce.
That's it.
Yeah.
Cut.
Did you guys talk to each other before you kind of chose your crops, or how did you? Or everybody chose for themselves, and then you said afterwards?
No, so actually in the beginning, Square Roots chose the crops that we would be growing, I guess to ease the kind of like the headache that it can be to try and like really choose your crops. So they set up each of us with 2 crops, and so we had like 3 or 4 lettuce farms, 2 or 3 salad mix farms, and then like a kale and collards and like just multiple varieties of kale and collards and chard and all of that. And so that's how we started. But then from there, we got to decide how we wanted to transition into another group of crops.
Yeah.
I feel like a bad gentleman, like filming instead of helping. Do you guys all have the same business model?
No.
So what is it?
Isn't that the question?
Well, I guess, I mean, I'm all about having multiple streams of revenue. So my business model isn't just about selling food, it's also about empowering other people to grow food. And so part of my business model is running events where I have like a hydroponic happy hour. I invite people to the farm, you get to harvest your own salad, and then I give a tour of the inside of the farm, and you get to ask me 1,000,001 questions, and like it's really interesting what people say. And then like direct to consumer, so cutting out the middleman and having people really get to know us as farmers is something that we all kind of participate in. We all do something called Farm to Local, or not everybody, but most of us. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I deliver directly to people in their office or at a church. We have a drop-off point in Jersey City, and people come to me every Tuesday between 6 and 8 p.m. and they come pick up their weekly subscription of leafy greens.
And what's the percentage between income stream of food sold and the rest of the income streams?
Of like events and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I would say like probably 75% is from events at this point. I started with 75%, if not like 90 to 95% of food, but that wasn't financially sustainable.
Is that because the farm is not big enough, or?
I think for me it was not having enough time to do both running the sales side of the business and running the farm. And so I could never bring it to full capacity without something else falling apart. So yeah.
My business is growing nutrient-dense greens, the same as we all have, but selling them to athletes at different gyms. So delivering straight to the fridge in the gym, people work out, and then they could take it on their way home. And yeah, I don't do a lot of events. Most of my revenue comes from the farm, so kind of the opposite, but for the same reason, just not having enough time to hold events. And then my own interest is like working with chefs, with groceries, kind of like building those connections, but really having fun with it, like being able to grow varieties people have never seen. I think we grew some of the first carrots and radishes in these farms, which had never been done before as far as I know. So it's a lot of fun.
Right. Well, the next part is about technology and growing. So can we like have a little tour in your farm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine is don't focus on the.
Okay.
Is it clean?
Yeah.
Everybody still good?
Sorry, guys.
So how are you involved with Square Roots?
Oh no, I literally like saw the purple lights and I walked over.
Ah.
It's like, really dope. Yeah.
You like the purple lights?
I did. I like the purple lights. It's cool.
Wait, so Who's this guy?
I just saw the lights and was like coming around.
Okay, cool.
I
Nice.
was like, oh, still, let me see what it's about.
They're changing the world. Did you know that?
I listen. Okay. Like, why the shipping container?
You can put them
it's an
anywhere.
off-the-shelf kind of model.
Okay.
You're fully
Freight
equipped.
Farms is the company that designed these farms.
What's it called?
Freight Farms.
Freight Farms.
Like you can go buy one. Like anyone can get it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. That's all my questions.
Yeah.
So we have a Zipgrow farm inside of a freight farm. There are 256 towers.
Yep.
That's a lot.
And between the 10 farms, we're growing about 30 to 40 different varieties of leafy greens and carrots. And turnips every once in a while.
Yes.
And it's fully automated and controlled, so like temperature or climate controls, humidity control, and it also has an automated dosing system for the nutrients and the pH up and down. Yeah, and then that's as far as I can explain it before I got to show you.
Yeah. Let's go and check it out.
I don't
Oh, light.
Close that.
I'll just go like throughout like the cycle from seed to harvest. So we start with these black trays, and there's 200 plugs in each of these trays, which we put something called peat moss, which uses it also has a binding solution, which keeps it together. And then this is actually just to cover the empty spaces so that algae doesn't grow down here. So we put the seeds in there, and then we get them wet up here. There's a nutrient reservoir or reservoir with the dissolved nutrients in here. Oh, perfect.
Oh, it's happening. What is happening?
So we're witnessing a flood and drain system. There's a water pump here. Can't let that run. Which then pumps water into here, and then it's on a timer, and it knows exactly how long it'll take to fill this, so that all of the roots are receiving water from the bottom over here. And so when we wet it up here, we take it down here for about a week, where we put these things called humidity domes on top of them, and we let them germinate for about a week. The seeds need a nice warm, dark place in order to germinate, and then they're good. And then once we're done after a week, we put it back up here, and we let it sit here for about 2 to 3 weeks. Or actually even 1 to 3 weeks, depending on the variety. And once they're ready to go, kind of like these guys, these are overgrown actually. We grab a tower.
Oh, we're getting a full tour.
Yeah. And usually what you see here is that I actually am bagging for my customers at the church. But it gets placed here. You would actually hook this into here, pull out the mesh, put it over, and then you would open up the mesh and put little seedlings inside of it. And then you have to close it back up, hot dog style, put it back in.
Hot dog style.
Hot dog style.
Hot dog.
And then it remains in the tower for about 2 or 3 weeks, at least for the salad greens, and then we got multiple harvests. 2 or 3 harvests after that.
Awesome. And Jonathan, is it the same in your farm?
It is. Identical.
Oh,
Do you want to see the reservoirs or anything like that? Like in the back?
It's fun. Come on.
Let's go.
Go for it.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
So those are air stones pumping oxygen into the water, which makes the plants grow faster. There's a water pump right here with a filter, pumps up, and then it gets pushed into the spin down filter, which I covered with a black sleeve from an old shirt, in order to prevent algae growth, so I don't have to clean it as often. If I didn't, I'd have to clean it like once a month. And then it goes through here, and then gets pushed through these 4 channels.
It's hard to film.
Yeah, I bet.
And then we have the farm.
And then it comes out of these little drip irrigation
This is cute.
nozzles. Yeah, black knobs. It's a black nozzle, like little irrigation. Yeah, so then that goes down the tower, and then it captures water down here. And so all the water gets recaptured, and then it goes back into the reservoir, which you're standing on right now. The one cool thing that we actually do is we collect all of the evaporated water. So like we have the dehumidifier, and that sucks water, out of the air, and it gets redirected back into the main tank, as well as the air conditioning gets redirected into the main tank. So all the water,
Nothing gets
nothing gets lost.
nothing gets lost.
What?
Lost enough?
Right.
It's like a whiteboard?
Kind
It
of.
kind of. It won't come off now because it's been there for so long. But yeah. My transplanting skills.
What is this?
This is the system that basically controls the freight farm. The computer, yeah, everything.
Mainframe.
The technology.
This is the part I don't understand.
But you know how to use it.
You know how to flip the switches.
Yeah, I know how to turn on the,
Please don't.
what's it called? The Bluetooth.
Let's get out of here.
You are a new farmer.
So how much do you harvest? And like, let's say every time you go to the farmer's market, like, how much are you able to bring?
I harvest anywhere from 15 to 25 pounds a week. And that's enough to supply most of my customers and then some.
So you sell out everything all the time.
I usually don't sell out. Actually, John ends up using my excess stuff.
Really? So he's the better food salesman?
I'm the better customer. Yeah.
So you really have excess food.
Yeah, at the moment I do.
Is it because you need more customers or what?
Yeah,
She's too good at growing.
yeah.
Ah.
Like I said, I get obsessed with the farm and then everything else falls apart.
Ah, good. So, like, if you would have a collective shop or something like that, would that work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think John would be a great salesman. He would make sure the product gets to the customer. And I do the growing. Got the green thumb.
And you also told the labor that goes into this farm. You also were working with volunteers. Is that necessary or is it just for fun?
Well, one person could run a container, but it's not ideal. I like to have one volunteer, maybe 2. So when you're in here, you kind of are all doing the same task at once. You cut down the time a half or a third, and then you're in here. For me, probably farming takes 15 hours a week, and then if you bring in a volunteer, maybe 7 hours a week,
Yeah.
and so on. So it's pretty crazy. You can get down to like nothing.
Okay. Would it be a profitable business? Yeah, would it be a profitable business without the volunteers? Like if you calculate in your working hours and.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on how much you're going to yield. So if you can yield 60 pounds a week, you can, charge a lower price, get volunteers in here without that price being higher. If you're growing like 20 pounds or 10 pounds a week, which was like the case in the beginning, you're going to have to price it higher. You're going to need a volunteer because your time is worth something.
Yeah. And so what would be a solution to work without a volunteer?
I would say what Electra is saying, like planning your time, scheduling. Like you're in the farm, you should probably stay in the farm and do your farm work. And then, in the hours you're not in the farm, that's when you do business, that's when you do distribution. And really, when you're here harvesting, only be transplanting. Even with the volunteer, like stick to one thing, and then your time is worth more.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I actually have partnered with Mary to help on business development side of things.
Yeah, it's a good partnership to be able to
Yeah.
find that complementary sales as well as farming skills to go hand in hand.
So like she's been really vital in getting the word out and kind of helping with PR for Green Food Solutions, and then and finding people who are really excited about this, where I focus more on the farming side of things, but I also come out and would love to speak to people about it. But yeah, I'm more on the like technology side.
Who are your main partners? Or both of you? What?
My main partner is Mary. Yeah, we are co-founders of Green Food Solutions. So, yeah. I mean, and then if you're talking about like business partners, not necessarily, like not my business partner, but partners, people who partner with Green Food Solutions. We have that church in New Jersey City, St. Paul's. We're partnering with Tower Garden to sell and install Tower Garden farms and for individuals and for chefs and restaurants.
And who are your main partners?
It's a good question. I work with, my partner is a guy named David Nabinski, and he and I kind of got together about 6 or 7 months ago. Our vision of bringing real food to people, getting even more local. We've changed a few things, but essentially we created Street Lease. And we are now in about 2 months away from launching. So it's gonna be a big thing, but almost there.
I know you guys, the square root farmers all together, or do you guys partner with each other on things or in events or?
Totally.
Yeah. As an outsider, I see it all the time with them. I think that they might not even notice it as much, but like they barter by switching bags. John, sometimes they have similar customers like our harvest, and John's constantly throwing her a favor, being like, "Hey, I'm here early. Do you want me to, give your order to the customer?" And like that. So there's friendships, there's symbiotic relationships forming, work and otherwise.
And we do a farm to local. So like we give 3 bags to a customer, for an example. So usually one of the bags is going to be Electras. And we swap between us so the customer gets more selection than just what's in one farm. They get all 10.
Brotherhood among the farmers.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So there's 2 farmers who are actually working together, where one of them just wants to do the farming and the other one decided maybe she doesn't want to do the farming. So I'm not gonna say anything. But yeah, so like she runs her own farm, but then one of the other farmers takes care of it, and then through that partnership, like she takes care of making sure that she's helping to follow up with his emails and sales and marketing. So they kind of have this.
They merge 2 farms together.
Yeah, pretty
basically.
much. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Do you guys have to do a lot of marketing, or does Square Roots do it all for you? Or how do you sell your produce? Did you have to go somewhere, or do you...
So okay, there's two streams of marketing here, I would say. Square Roots does do a really good, big amount of marketing, and they bring a lot of press, and there's a lot of attention that we get, and so through that we also get exposure, which then I guess you could call that marketing, but we also have our own campaigns depending on our individual purpose or what we're interested in actually doing. So, and sometimes like Square Roots doesn't have the time to focus on 10 different purposes or campaigns. So yeah, we do a lot of our own marketing, and they also bring a lot of attention to us through media.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does it also immediately say something about the sales of your vegetables? Like,
yeah, I mean, like they were really helpful in bringing some of the first customers I ever had. Yeah, they brought in like a good handful of them, and so yeah. I hate it when I end with a yeah, but
is it difficult finding customers?
Yeah, yes and no. So the tough part would be the price. Typically, growing with lights is a little more expensive, so your product is going to reflect that.
Yeah.
In this current time in history, eventually it'll be a lot cheaper. So I think that's one of the toughest parts is selling. We know the benefits: no pesticides, no GMOs, nutrient dense. But necessarily, someone's concerned about what's the cheapest or the best price. It's kind of hard to push that. You have a bunch of reasons. It lasts 3 weeks, 4 weeks in the fridge with flavor. Like people have never seen that before. So I would say that's probably the toughest part. But we've been successful in getting into office buildings. For me, gyms, athletes love it. And bonding with the customers. It's all pretty crazy. I'm gonna always look back on this experience pretty happy. So yeah.
Right. Does the location of your farm, is it positive influence on finding customers, or is it difficult?
with the location of it,
Yeah, the location here.
does it make it difficult to find customers?
Yeah, is it a good location, or you have to... we just met a guy who's
Yeah.
locally.
Yeah.
I guess he's local.
Yeah.
But do you guys meet people locally? Do they buy the food here, or you have to go a little bit further?
So the majority of my customers are in Manhattan and in the lower, downtown area, as well as in Jersey City. And so, yeah, in terms of the immediate local community, because we're kind of isolated in this industrial area, even though there is a lot of residential buildings around. There's been a barrier there, so I would say it is kind of difficult to find customers, but I think a lot in this area. But at the same time, I could probably be doing more to reach out to the local community. And I just targeted a certain area, and then I stuck to it. So that delivery logistics in New York City is really, really difficult. So once you have a designated area, it's really hard to want to go somewhere else, because that can mean an extra 40 minutes on your delivery time, and it's hard to want to commit to something like that. But,
As an outsider too, I would also, Electra's model is to really kind of farm food in a community and then keep it within that community. So when she proposed it to Square Roots about, can I put up flyers around, which is how we promoted in Jersey City and in other areas, for a certain reason, they just didn't really want people coming onto the farm. It may have been a safety or a liability issue, I'm not exactly sure. But they kind of were inhibiting that, inviting people to come to the farm for pickups versus it being shipped out.
I stick to Brooklyn. And since we're here, I kind of figure, stay as close as possible. It's like a mile radius, 2 miles. Definitely limits you. Kind of like, Manhattan has, I don't know, 8 million people. So you're cutting it off, but at the same time, like Electra said, distribution and the last mile getting into the city is pretty difficult. It's pretty expensive. You can easily get a ticket, and then it's like a whole day's worth of deliveries are gone. So you kind of always have to navigate. And when you have like 50 bags in your hand, it makes it hard to walk around like that. So I try to stay here.
Using the subway would not be an option.
No, it's tough. But and then
She does city bike and the subway.
Yeah.
City bike and subway.
Yeah. So there's
Literally the bag.
a rent or bike share program here, and so there's actually a stall right here, right outside the building. I take that to the Lorimore station, and then I take the train. I take the JZ all the way down to the very last stop on Broad Street, and then I have a WeWork on Broad Street, and from there I pick up city bikes and I drop them off in all of the different locations. I have this really big backpack, cold storage backpack. Yeah.
Is that also part of the working hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I consider that working hours.
Weird.
Yeah.
You don't deliver by bike.
sometimes I try not to in the summer because it gets pretty hot, but like the spring and the fall is a good time to deliver by bike. Brooklyn I can drive. It's like when you're a mile away, it makes it really easy. And my gyms are kind of close to one another, so it makes it really cool to interact with customers. And then we're planning now an event for the gym to actually come here and do a big workout at the farm. So that's going to be sick.
Awesome. All right. Still 2 more steps to go, guys.
Okay.
Around here?
So guys, time for the last questions. You guys are special because you're like in the Square Roots program. So did you have to finance your farm yourself, or how does it work, the Square Roots program?
We got so the USDA worked with us, and we were able to create like a micro loan that exists already, but specifically for farming like this, which I'm pretty sure is never financed like container farming. And then, so we took a loan from the USDA, a small loan, but we're able to basically stay in business here.
Okay. But you have to pay back the farm, or how does it?
Yeah, you pay back
So-
at the end of the year.
Yeah, well, we don't own the farm.
Yeah,
You're renting it.
renting it.
The program is for 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe you had to pay back the farm.
Imagine. $100,000 now.
Do you think it's possible to, as one person, buy one container and have pay that container back with produce or events? Do you think that's possible with your experience?
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good, definitely yes.
I don't know. We got to be very careful with what we say.
Why?
Because container farming in general, I think could work, but not necessarily all container farms have a quick payback period. I think a lot of them take a lot of work, and they're still a long way from where they're going to be in the future. So I think a lot of people have gone into it, and I think a lot of people, I think you need experience before you get into this kind of thing. You don't necessarily need it, but it's good to have.
Yeah. But it's hard to get the experience in the first place.
True. Did you guys make a business plan at the beginning of the program?
Not really.
No?
No.
So you just jumped into...
Yeah, I mean, not in
Well-
the formal sense of making a business plan. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't sit down and like create like from start to finish type of business plan. It was kind of like hit the ground running and see what we can make out of the food that we grow. And then from there, we create our business plans. So not in the beginning.
So it was really just jumping in American style.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
it's the opposite of the European way. Like the European way, you just
Yeah.
think about it for a very long time.
And then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we created plans, but I think a lot of those plans changed. Totally.
And you have like an Excel file with all the numbers and tweak it. Or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like it?
Sure.
It's gonna cost money.
You know, urban farming, it's a new kind of concept. And where did you learn about law and policy surrounding the whole urban farming thing? And is there a lot of law and policy around
So
urban
believe it
farming?
or not, urban farming isn't a new thing. It's an old thing being
Yeah.
rejuvenated. So cities used to be settlements around farms because that's where all of the food, that's where you have prosperous land. And then I would say probably in the last two or three generations, we're probably one of the first generations that had nothing to do with family farms in the past. Because if you look at, the number of people who were farming, at least in the U.S., back in like 1790, it was like 90-something% of the population. And now, I don't know what the data is after 1994, but in 1994, it was 3% of the population. So I can imagine it's probably less than 1% of the population today actually grows the nation's food. At some point, law and policy said we want to push farms away from the city because of now the new industrial uses of the city, and then you had zoning laws, and now you couldn't grow food in the same place where you were living. So yeah, like I think there's a lot of things we need to come back to.
Does it impact your business, the law and policy? Does it inhibit
As far as I
it?
know.
No. We got a lot of support from USDA, from our mentors here at Square Roots. So I mean, if you're gonna run a profitable business, it's good to have more support, like grants. I would appreciate as many grants as we can get so we could bring the price down and basically feed everybody. But I mean, if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you figure that stuff out.
How did you figure it out?
So Farm Local is one way we figured it out.
What is that?
Farm Local is our weekly delivery program.
Right. Only one last question for you guys. If you would have some final advice for anybody who wants to start farming, what would it be?
I would say just do it. You don't need all this. You don't need a $100,000 container. You don't need fancy technology. There's tons of people doing it all over the world online. I would say the best way to start is just to start. Get a small piece of land, rent it, borrow it from your neighbors, start growing some food, and yeah, get into business.
I guess remember what you're committed to, especially in the moments where you want to give up and you want to just like say screw it all. Remember why you're doing it in the first place, which I think a lot of future farmers have really, really, really good reasons why they're doing this. And so don't forget that reason, because sometimes things get really, really hard, and it will get hard, and like it's not really one of those kind of occupations where you go into it because you're thinking like I'm going to make billions of dollars. You go into it because there's a calling and there is a connection that you have with
Yeah.
the earth, the land, the food, the materials, and yeah, and so just keep on remembering why you got into this and what you're committed to.